Hello all you survival horror lovers, as always I am Cosmic, and today we're going to be reviewing Ian's Eyes, an indie survival horror game developed by Sindie Games and published by Soedesco. In the small town of Wintriol, a little boy known as Ian, who is blind, has his first day at Blue No Home School. Ian's first day doesn't really go as planned, and something happens that essentially turns all the students and most of the faculty into mindless, scary zombies. Ian's sole objective is to try and get out of the school, but however, because he's blind, he also needs the help of his trusty companion North. In the game, you are directly taking control of the guide dog North, and you play him for the duration, helping to guide Ian around and avoid enemies. There's no particular violence in this game, it's more to do with puzzles and trying to avoid enemies at all cost. As soon as an enemy touches you, you are dead and you will have to restart from the nearest checkpoint. What first struck me about the game was of course the art style, and I think the art style looks fantastic. It works really well, it provides a really unique atmosphere, and it overall is fairly charming and full of character. The problem is with the game, and this goes right throughout, this is something that the game is just plagued with, is execution problems. Execution mechanically, execution visually, execution audibly. There is problems throughout Ian's Eyes. First, let's start with visual and audio. Problems visually, lack of frame rate drops, unoptimization, glitches, all that kind of thing. It's very, very sporadic, and you can really tell, and the shine sometimes wipes off completely, and you can really see the problems there. Audibly, the game is voice acted, it's fully voice acted, but the voice actors have, you have one really good voice actor, then you have an absolute terrible voice actor, to the point of he mispronounces words, he doesn't speak correctly, he sometimes completely says a word that is completely opposite to what's actually being said in the subtitles, and it's just problems throughout that in that regard. When it comes down to mechanics, there is some really good ideas here, and I like the idea of controlling this guide dog, and you have to lead Ian around, and then sometimes you can get away from Ian to go and scout ahead, or try and take a puzzle, lead enemies away, something like that. However, there is a mechanic in there that once you as North are away from Ian becomes more scared, and as he gets more and more frightened, there's a chance that he will you'll get a game over, etc, etc. The problem is with all of the mechanics, and it's a fairly simple game. Essentially works from, distracting enemies with barking, or, trying to figure out the optimal route around enemies. There's some very minor puzzles in the game where it's about, finding a lever and then going back to another place and backtracking and using the map to see where you're going. But other than that, it's fairly simple. Again, the problems mechanically come in the form of execution. The levels are sometimes poorly designed. They look great, but they are sometimes poorly designed. The controls are clunky and sluggish, and often you can try and be really quick and the controls just don't work flat out, and it's just problematic throughout. It is charming, it does have a lot of character, but ultimately it is just full of problems throughout the game, and while none of them are particularly game breaking in any regard, there are multiple problems to the point where it is so noticeable regardless of how many times you play it. For me personally, the game is interesting. I like the ideas, I like the mechanical ideas, I like the story ideas behind it. I think the narrative is an interesting one, even if the game is fairly poorly voice acted and poorly written. That being said, however, there are so many problems in this game that ultimately it needs more polish, it needs more work, it needs more time. And to truly get that done, if that was done and you got more polish, the issues were ironed out, the controls were tightened, and ultimately it was just more polished, better executed, then I could definitely recommend it. In its current state, I don't recommend it. I have to say that if you're a survival horror fan, you might find it interesting, you might find some of the ideas unique. That being said, however, you need to know what you're getting into. You need to know that there are multiple problems, that they do exist. None of it is game breaking, but it is going to get frustrating for you. Hopefully the developers will patch out some of the problems and then it will become a fairly playable game and a fairly enjoyable game. It is playable at the moment, but it's not particularly enjoyable in any regard. So that is my review of Ian's Eyes. Thank you so much for watching and listening. As always, please do like, subscribe, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will see you next time.